So we're back for another episode of Reflections, and in today's video it's going to be once again quite unique, but with today's video I'm going to completely skip the intro and get right to the topic at hand. So with avoiding burnout, this is a topic that I'll be going off my own experiences and telling you firsthand how to avoid burnout. I'll also be going into the importance of avoiding burnout and how detrimental burnout can be to you. So I think this is a very important video to all students, but primarily university students, and me being a medical student, it can definitely apply to you. So how do you avoid burnout? Number one step, try to get plenty of sleep. Try to get as much sleep as you can. Now, if you notice, anytime you feel stressed or overworked, or you're feeling, because burnout is a big thing, so I'm not going to say that, but feeling overworked, feeling stressed, you're often drained, you're often tired, and a lot of times you felt like this for numerous days, and the likelihood is you haven't had the sleep that's required to recover from all those days of doing intense work and being under a lot of mental stress. So the number one step to avoiding burnout is going to be getting plenty of sleep. So please, this is advice coming from me, because I've been through moments where for numerous weeks at a time I wasn't getting enough sleep, and that affected me in a detrimental manner quite a bit, and it could have led to burnout. I was getting stressed throughout it, so please try to get plenty of sleep. I don't think I can emphasize that enough. That's how important it is. The second thing, try to have a primary focus. Now, in this case, in this video, I'll be addressing students, but primarily uni students, and I'm a student myself, so have your primary focus to be based around your responsibilities. And in this case, I'm going to be speaking about school. Really try to prioritize school and don't treat it like something that you just kind of have to do, because that can lead to a scenario where you're stressed, where you're worried about your exam results. So really try to prioritize school and recognize that you really need to put in your all when it comes to this. For me, I've been in moments where I didn't prioritize school the way I should have, and instead I prioritized my hobbies. And whilst hobbies are important and staying balanced is important, I'll touch on that, your primary focus needs to be the thing that you're putting your attention towards, and you cannot neglect it, and it needs to truly be your number one priority. So please recognize where your focus lies, and you can recognize where your focus lies by looking at how you spend your time. So if you spend your time barely doing any work, not going to lectures, not doing the work required in school, spending a lot of time on social media, etc., that shows where your priorities lie. So if that's not where your priorities should lie and where your responsibilities should fall, please direct it towards your responsibility. Okay, third thing. The third thing is you have to prioritize self-care. So a lot of times what happens is, let's say if you're very stressed, you haven't been keeping up with your work, and now you really need to catch up. Oftentimes what happens is your level of self-care starts to drop. you may not exercise as much, you may not be taking care of yourself in the manner that you should. So to avoid burnout, I would also say make sure you truly prioritize yourself and you really take care of yourself. So that means making sure you work out, exercise, watching your diet, and trying to have, for me personally, I prioritize trying to have very, very good hygiene, which I spoke about a few videos ago. So making sure you're always showering, shaving, having a good, for me, skincare routine, making sure you smell good, like truly prioritizing yourself and self-care, because I have that as my self-care. So please don't neglect that, because I think once you start neglecting that, then your mental health are just going to start to deteriorate, and you don't want that. Okay, fourth thing is to be able to recognize whether you're introverted or extroverted. So introverts, they often feel drained by socializing, essentially. Socializing loads just drains their energy, and they just prefer being by themselves, and that's how they recharge. Whereas with extroverts, it's the opposite. They feel energized by lots of social interactions, and that's their way of recharging. So you can adapt this based upon whether you're introverted or extroverted. So you can even have it as part of your self-care, knowing where your energy levels are. So if you're on the extroverted side, having time that you prioritize to socialize, whereas if you're introverted, having time that you prioritize, where you've scheduled for you time, just to be by yourself, to do whatever you want to do. And for me personally, I really enjoy socializing with people, but oftentimes by the end of it, I feel really drained, and I feel like I just need to get away and be by myself. So if you're like me, you can try to have time scheduled where you do socialize, but also have time off where you can spend by yourself. That's if you like me. So therefore, you should allow it to be part of, just try to go with your nature with this one, and really schedule it so you truly prioritize it. And of course, everybody does need to socialize, but the amount they socialize is going to vary between people. And I've touched on burnout, but I myself have had basically glimpses of burnout, and I can tell you that it felt horrible. It felt really, really horrible. So please avoid it at all costs. And the thing is, when you start to feel in that manner, you just can't focus. You just lose your ability to focus, you lose your ability to do work. And oftentimes, the thing that led up to that burnout was because you became overburdened by the amount of work you had to do, or you just didn't do the work, and now it started to really catch up. So you needed to do loads of work. Because that led you to burnout, you're now in a situation where that's going to cause you to even become more stressed, because you can't get the work done. You just be burnt out. So if there's one thing that you leave from, or a point that you take from this video, is please avoid burnout. Try to follow the steps I've given to truly avoid burnout, because burnout is horrible. Being stressed is horrible. People often give advice about staying balanced, and of course you don't want to go overboard in any direction, but I kind of took that advice myself, and try to prioritize having time away to socialize and etc. But I think perhaps I went a bit overboard, and I think that's what can occur if you trying to always try to stay balanced. I think the best balance is not balance, kind of just tilting in one direction rather than being perfectly balanced. And if you're prioritizing your main thing, So this thing that we spoke about previously is going to be school. If you're truly prioritizing school, of course, you're going to be socializing, but you're not going to be socializing loads and loads. You're going to have time out to be with your friends, but you're not going to be with your friends 24/7. You know what I mean? So, and you often hear advice about making sure you don't miss any motives. And I took that advice for a while, but it basically almost left me burnout. Let's say you don't miss that motive. Oftentimes, what happens is you get way less sleep, and then the next morning you're completely drained. You can't focus. Your sleeping schedule's been wrecked, and if you do that time and time again, it really starts to catch up. So, in an attempt to be all balanced, you can fall into the trap of prioritizing the social part way too much. That can lead you to being in a situation where I've been before, where exam season is approaching and you basically have to drop everything. You have to drop everything and just go completely all out on study and cramming in. That's not a good way to learn, for one. And the stress associated with it is something that I've now learned that I must avoid. And if that means I'm gonna miss a few motives and I won't have as much fun, I'd much rather experience that than have to experience the stress associated with that month of just having to cram like crazy. So I would encourage you to, instead of attending that motive, that one motive, because there's plenty more that you can attend. But sometimes you just have to prioritize your sleep. So instead of attending that motive, get those extra hours of sleep. Make sure you exercise. Make sure you get sunlight. Try to get as much sunlight early in the morning because it's going to help you stay awake. And hopefully I'll be making a video on morning routine, which is basically scientifically like approved for getting your energy levels up. So a really productive morning routine to get your energy levels up based upon science. Secondly, try not to stay up too late. I've done that a million times, but just try to take my advice with this one. Try not to stay up too late. Try to, as best as you can, stay on top of your work. And you'll hear this advice a million times, especially if you're a medical student yourself. You'll hear this advice from other medical students who are older than you. Try to stay on top of your work, and really try to stay on top of your work, because work piles up quickly. So you need to stay on top of your work and your responsibilities and truly prioritize them, because that's going to help you keep your stress levels low by exercising, sleeping, getting sunlight, not staying up late. It's going to allow you to have energy levels, high energy levels throughout your day. And because of that, you're going to be more productive. And because of the fact that you're more productive, now you're going to have more time to be able to socialize, etc. But it first starts off with you prioritizing yourself and your goals. And your goal, if you're a student, should be to do well in school. Try to understand what you're learning and do well in school. And if this advice that I'm telling you means that you're going to miss a motive here and there, there's going to be plenty of fun in the future. But the problem is the compounding effect that can occur if you don't follow this advice at all and just go to every single motive, fall in the trap of always trying to be balanced and always trying to have fun. You're going to end up sleep deprived, stressed, living an unhealthy lifestyle. You're eating junk food, you're not exercising as much. And the compounding effect of that is going to really catch up on you, and it's going to affect you both physically and mentally. So that's just going to make you feel horrible. So to close with this advice, remember that Burning out and getting stressed feels horrible. So please avoid it at all costs. And that's gonna conclude the video. So without further ado, I've been your boy Abdurrahman. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, comment, like, share, subscribe. Let me know what you thought about this video. Let me know what you thought about me speaking about topics more so geared towards school, productivity, etc. Yeah, so that's all from me. Salam.
إن أردتم أن تكونوا شامة بين الورى فاقتفوا آثار جيل للمعالي سطرا. إن أردتم أن تكونوا شامة بين الورى فاقتفوا آثار جيل للمعالي سطرا.